All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into an incredible journey back in time. I want you to imagine something truly amazing. Picture an entire group of people, the ancient Israelites, who've just been freed from living under the heavy rule of the powerful Egyptian empire. So they're out in this vast open desert, and they have a massive, massive task ahead of them. I mean, they don't have a country yet, they don't have a government, they are literally starting with a totally blank slate. How do you take hundreds of thousands of newly freed people and teach them how to live together fairly? Well, today we're diving into Exodus chapter 22 to uncover the fascinating ancient rules they used to build their brand new world.
So how do you build a just society completely from scratch? It's a huge question, right? Think about it. If you were in charge, what rules would you make? You'd obviously need rules to keep everyone safe, but you'd also have to figure out how people should treat each other every single day. What we're going to see in this amazing ancient story is a world built not just on strict rules, but on extreme kindness and taking real personal responsibility for your actions. It's a thrilling, energetic story of a people learning how to be truly fair to one another. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. A society built on justice, everyday laws, and restitution. Now, in any neighborhood, people have stuff, right? And sometimes things get broken, or worse, things get stolen. Let's do some ancient math here. If you stole something, you couldn't just say, "Oops, sorry," and hand it back. No way. They had a special rule called restitution, which meant paying back way more than you took to make up for the damage. If someone stole an ox and sold it, they had to pay back 5 oxen. Steal a sheep, you pay back 4 sheep. And if the thief was completely penniless, they were actually made to work incredibly hard to make good on that loss. It was a severe system, but it was absolutely designed to guarantee that wrongdoers always made things right. This really brilliantly illustrates personal accountability. But what if you just made a mistake? What if you were just a bit careless and your animals wandered over and ate your neighbor's crops? Or say you started a campfire and the sparks blew over and burned down your neighbor's garden. The rule was simple but firm. If you caused the mess, you still had to fix it, and you had to pay them back using the absolute best food from your own garden. Whether it was malicious or just an accident, it was kind of like, you break it, you buy it, ancient style.
Okay, but what happens when two neighbors are just straight up arguing over a lost donkey? One says, "Hey, that's my donkey." The other says, "No, it's mine." Well, the ancient Israelites had a very specific way to solve fights. Both people had to take their argument before God, and whoever was lying didn't just lose the argument, they had to pay the other person double. It was a super powerful way to make sure people really thought twice before telling a fib about their neighbors.
Moving right along. Section 2. Protecting the vulnerable. Radical compassion.
So while they had tough laws for bad guys, God also demanded strict protection for people who needed extra help. A truly fair world actively protects those without power. Let's run through these rapidly. Do not oppress foreigners living among you. Do not abuse widows or orphans in any way. Do not act like a harsh creditor to the poor. And absolutely no charging interest when you lend to someone in need. And the reason behind this extreme kindness is so powerful. The Israelites were explicitly reminded that they had to be compassionate because they themselves were once foreigners in Egypt. They knew exactly what it felt like to be picked on, so they were commanded to never, ever treat anyone else that way.
And the text makes it incredibly clear that these were not just friendly suggestions. If bullies took advantage of the weak, the consequences were severe and fatal. It warns that God would hear their cries and strike back. The ancient rule states, quote, "My anger will burn, and I will kill you with the sword. Your own wives will be widows, and your own children fatherless." There was absolutely zero tolerance in this new world for ignoring the cries of the abused.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the rule of fairness in everyday commerce. Imagine someone is so poor that the only thing they have to promise for a loan is their own coat. The rule was that you actually had to give their coat back by sundown. Why? Well, because it's what they use to stay warm when they sleep. Basic human needs always came first. Even when making a business deal, you had to be kind. God declares, "If he cries out to me, I will listen, because I am compassionate."
All right, let's look at the spiritual side. Section 3, Holiness and Divine Respect, a consecrated people.
The Israelites weren't just building a regular country here. They were called to be a specially separated, distinct people. And that meant their relationship with God was a huge part of their everyday rules. While most cultures back then worshiped many gods, the Israelites had an absolute requirement to worship their God, Adonai, and him alone. Anyone who broke this rule and sacrificed to a different god faced complete destruction. It was a strict, unbending line designed to keep their newly formed society completely unified. There were also some very strict boundaries for how to behave in society. Sorcery and witchcraft were completely forbidden. There were severe, fatal penalties for extreme moral crimes, and strict rules against cursing God or the leaders of the people. These rules really highlight a massive demand for religious purity and a deep respect for authority within their new nation.
And their devotion to God was also beautifully mapped out in their farming and family lives. This wasn't something they only thought about once a week. They were told not to delay giving their offerings of grain, olive oil, and wine during harvest time. And when a new baby animal was born, like a little ox or a fluffy sheep, it got to stay with its mother for the first 7 days. But on the 8th day, it was to be given to God. It was this beautifully structured timeline of gratitude and giving back their very best.
So the crucial point is Section 4, the ultimate moral, key themes of Exodus 22. When we zoom out and look at the whole shebang, all these oxen and coats by sundown and harvest timelines, what is the big picture? The moral of Exodus 22 is that God demands a world built on 4 unshakable pillars. First, justice and restitution. If you hurt someone or break something, you must fix it. Second, radical compassion, actively protecting widows, orphans, foreigners, and the poor. Third, personal accountability. You are completely liable for your mistakes. And fourth, holiness, honoring God and respecting leaders. These ancient rules weren't just random laws. They built a comprehensive moral foundation.
Which leaves us with a pretty incredible question to ponder today. How do these ancient rules, written thousands of years ago out in the desert, shape our view of fairness right now? When we look at our own schools, our playgrounds, and our neighborhoods, do we still take accountability when we make a mistake? Do we still practice radical compassion to make absolutely sure the kids who need the most help are protected? It's kind of amazing how a story from the ancient world can still challenge us to be better today.
Thank you all so much for joining me on this incredible journey through the ancient past in today's Explainer. I hope you had as much fun learning about this amazing ancient world as I did sharing it with you. If you love diving into these fascinating historical stories with us, please join our growing community. Click the bell button, like, share, and subscribe so you never miss our next big adventure. Keep learning, keep asking great questions, and I'll see you next time.